What's up, YouTube? This is Giant Above 3 here. Uh, I've had people ask me like what builds I go for Stadium because they don't like the default builds. Which I looked at the default builds. They're fine. I think the issue isn't necessarily the powers, but like the items that they have down here, and also like the ordering of the powers. Maybe I get that they're trying to go for like a unique power in each of the slots to like get all the 12 ones there. But like the powers themselves aren't actually that bad, except I don't like the gun one here. But that's because I don't like Twist the Knife. I'm gonna have haters in the chat, but I don't like Twist the Knife. I tried making it work, and you'll see in my builds. But let me go over my builds, and I'll explain why I do like them, why I don't like them, when they're useful, when they're not useful, etc. Anyway, starting off with anti-aircraft artillery. So this one is an anti-aerial character. In fact, I would probably go aerial distressor, but you'll understand why in a second, why I don't. But basically, if they have like a Lucio, Mercy, Freya, or Juno, I like to go this build, where basically I have Royal Bullets round 1. This is helping with poking stuff, so like if they have like a Mercy flying or Lucio running around everywhere, I can kind of shoot them once and then they're taking constant damage. And then it also helps generate cash. But I'll go stuff like Techno Leech, Icy Coolant, and Talent Modification Module for the damage increase. Now, I don't really want to go attack speed because if you shoot someone twice with Royal Bullets before it's over, it doesn't stack. It refreshes the timer. So you end up getting less bang for your buck. But I will still go slicing speed because as long as I shoot one person in the head, right, I can quickly go like, let's say the tank's in front of me, right? If I shoot the tank in front of me, I get that attack, the movement speed, and I can go around the tank to try to shoot someone behind him. So movement speed is nice for this build. But by the time it's round 3, I do want to go Super Flexor and Mark of Kitsune with Merciless Magnetism. The pattern that which I shoot, or I do my abilities and stuff, right, is I will shoot someone in the head, and one shot triggers the wound on the head, and for every tick of wound, that is a weapon damage. And Super Flexor says when you deal weapon damage, so every tick counts as a weapon damage, get 5% ability power, stacking up to 5 times. If you shoot someone once, all those ticks end up being different weapon damage instances, and so you go to 25 ability power essentially instantly. So shoot someone once, then you shout, and then this triggers Mark of Kitsune. So the next time you shoot someone, they get ability damage on them as well. And then throw your knife for Jagged Blade. This is another ability, so you get Mark of Kitsune, so you get Royal Bullets again. Or you not Royal Bullets, you shoot them again, and you get the extra Mark of Kitsune damage. And then pull them with your knife, and then hopefully they're like, you shoot them again, they're dead by then. So, the pulling the knife doesn't count as an instance of ability, by the way, so don't confuse that. But you can go like Carnage or something like that whenever you pull them as well, and that's another instance of ability, and then you can shoot them. But basically, after you get these two, invest a bunch of an ability power. And then this is more of a shout-focused build. So once you shout, you can go like Let's Go Win, and then Reckoner's Roar, and anyone nearby also takes a bunch of damage. And since you're using your abilities a lot, you're going to go Lumerico Fusion Drive. This also helps against like the Mirror Match. Armor also does kind of help against like Orisa because she does a bunch of like little damage, and so you can like mitigate a lot of that with armor. And it also kind of helps against Zarya sometimes because beams are also affected by armor as well. So that's my explanation on this one. Going to keep shooting and no one dies. This has been actually my go-to unless they have like specifically like the flyers. So this one is more useful if you are playing around your team, and it's mostly because of Thrill of Battle. But I'll go ahead and start off with Royal Bullets. Again, cash generator first round, but also in this case, you are doing a bunch of wound, which will eventually add on to Thrill of Battle. With every ally near you getting a bunch of health, you end up getting your ult charge pretty freaking fast. So I do want to explain in the blue section right here, emergency chip. It says when you're below 150 life, gain 15% weapon life steal. So 150 life, what does life mean? It means health. Oh, they got the white health, by the way. Armor and shields. It does not include overhealth. So if you shout when you're at 150 health or lower, you are still below 150 life, and therefore you get that additional weapon lifesteal, which is kind of nice. Plus it's like a cheaper thing, and you get the 25 shields. So I do sometimes go this. Plus, I don't want to really go attack speed because, again, the thing with Royal Bulls is that it doesn't stack. It just refreshes the timer. So, gonna go Fantastic Flux as soon as I can. Keep myself alive with things like Nebula Conduit because you are doing a bunch of wound damage. That 15% of incoming damage over time ends up becoming damage over time, which you are healing over time anyway, and it kind of cancels out, which is kind of nice. Rostung von Wilhelm says when you're below 50%, 30% health, you gain 10% damage reduction, and if you go something like Amari's Antidote, which says when an ally is below 50% health, you are an ally, fun fact, you deal additional weapon healing, which does apply to your gun, which is super nice. Plus, once you invest in a bunch of health and stuff, if you go Undying Loyalty, you will have about 1,000 health. And you shout, and everyone gets 5% of your health every second. 5% of your health every second is 50 health every second for 4 seconds. That's 200 health. That's a lot of healing for your entire team. You can save someone's life. On top of that, the commanding shout gives your team overhealth, and this boosts your overhealth. So this helps your team keep alive, which is again why no one dies, and you just keep shooting it. I thought it was like a funny name. So because you get your a lot of healing and you get a lot of damage, you get your ult charge really fast. So you can go bow down, and then Blood Craze is not like Scav Scraps. Scav Scraps says based off the damage you do, you get overhealth. Blood Craze says based off of your maximum life, you get overhealth. So if you're at 1,000 life and you use Rampage, you gain 150 overhealth per person you hit. If you hit all 5 of them, possibly even you run over Bob, possibly. But let's not talk about Bob right now. If you run over let's say even 3 of them, right? You get 450 overhealth, which is quite a lot. That's like half of your health. And so on top of you can also shout to keep yourself alive and stuff. This keeps you alive for a long time as long as you play with close to your teammates. So you can play with an Ashe or whatever because you are playing somewhat further range, but remember 15 meters is your limit. So this is more better with a Mei, a Reaper, a Cassidy. If you have a Juno that'll still stick nearby you or a Kiriko that'll stick nearby you, it's really nice. So this is the build I like to go a lot of the times. Kangaroo with an axe is more of a hero fantasy build, but it does kind of work. It really just depends on the matchups, right? So the idea is Soaring Stone gets increased distance with movement speed. So if you have Slicing Spree and Aftermarket Firing Pin and Heartbeat Sensor, and if you get a kill Fancy Amplifier, right? You move really far, plus you can add Shout to it. So if you leap behind a corner, you can hit a Zenyatta with a Carnage before he has a chance to even Discord Orb you. Now, keep in mind, if you do this against an Ana, you don't one-shot the Ana, and the Ana will sleep you, but it is a really funny build. You can also go Mark of Kitsune, so as soon as you jump around that corner and slice them, you then shoot them, and you do a ton of damage. So, a really fun build, really fun matchups. If you do it for no other reason, do it for the hero fantasy. I really recommend it. It's really funny. You got things like Thick Skull in order for you to safely go around things. But this is, again, a flex one. It's an optional one. These top ones are more important, I think, for getting your ult. Because Catalytic Crystal does work with, your Rampage works with Blood Craze as well. You're using your abilities a lot. Mark of Kitsune is especially nice here because you're not shooting every time, right? You're reducing your cooldowns for a bunch of things. And so you Carnage, and then you shoot once, and then you're probably Carnaging again, and then you'll shoot again, and then you'll throw your knife, and then you'll shoot again, and it's just a really nice cycle. So this is a really fun build to do. I do recommend it. Maybe not top tier, but what I like about Soaring Stone rather than starting with Chop Chop is Chop Chop forces you to play the close range game, whereas Soaring Stone gives you options. If there is a Mei on the enemy team and they keep walling you off, use Soaring Stone as a movement ability to get out of there. If they blizzard you, you can shout Soaring Stone to get out of the blizzard. It is incredibly nice. Knife to See You is my anti-Diva build, and it really only works with Diva, unfortunately. I do have Merciless Magnetism. I might actually switch the order of Merciless Magnetism and Chop Chop for specifically Diva. But basically, the idea is you shoot Diva for a little bit, your teammates shoot Diva for a little bit. At some point, she has the defense matrix, right? After about a half a second to a second, start charging your Blade Parade, right? And as soon as she lets go of the defense matrix, which usually she runs out by then, right? Toss your Blade Parade and you eat through her armor. Now she has no armor and no defense matrix. She's going to try to escape. Shoot her down. Everyone just focus fire her. And if you go cut up Gracie, you cut up Gracie, you reduce your cooldown of Jagged Blade, so you can even pull her back in after you've already done it. And so use stuff like the Microfusion Driver to get your shields back after you toss your knife every like 2 seconds or so. Mark of Kitsune, because you're tossing your knife a lot. So toss knife, shoot, toss knife, shoot, toss knife, shoot, back and forth, whatever. Iridescent Iris is just such a nice, like, forget the after you're spending your ult charge thing. I never like focus on like that overhealth. It's all about the 10% cooldown reduction and the 20% ability power for the cost. It's so good. Scav Scraps, since you're already tossing your knife over and over again, you might as well get some benefit off of it. And you can go stuff like Catalytic Crystal and stuff like that. This is just it. And this really only works for Diva. I've tried it against like a Zarya. It doesn't work as well. Though I will say, Zarya, you can wait for the bubbles to die down and then toss your knife, and then her next bubble does not cleanse the knife. Now, if you knife her bubble, it won't actually get her, but if you get her first and then she bubbles, you can still pull her in the bubble, which is incredibly nice. So you can kind of do this against Zarya, but this is more for an anti-Diva build. Bringing a knife to a gunfight was my attempt at changing this from a Diva counter to a Zarya counter. But I just like keep shooting him, no one dies better for Zarya. And so what you end up doing is you combine, like if anti-aircraft artillery is your gun plus shouting, this is your gun plus more focus on your ability power stuff, like your knife and then eventually Carnage. So you go Super Flexor and Mark of Kitsune. You go Blade Parade in order to like shoot someone once, get a bunch of ability power, hit them really hard with Blade Parade, get the cooldown down. I don't really like this build, to be honest. I think that like it's trying too hard to be different things, and they don't really synergize as well as you would like them to. But it is on the plate. It is a work in progress. I do kind of like it. So if you want to improve on this build, go for it. Let's go with Wounds Heal eventually. So all of my other scattergun builds have been based off of Royal Bullets. Royal Bullets has one flaw. It has a few flaws. The first flaw is if you shoot someone over and over again, like really quickly, you actually don't end up getting the benefit of the 3-second duration for the wound. But the second flaw is that it's limited to 15 meters. So if you get them at the exact 15 meters and they start to escape, you can't restack that Royal Bullets. But what you can do is Twist the Knife. Twist the Knife does not have this distance limit. So if someone's trying to escape, you can still get them, right? So I am trying to figure out how to improve on this. I am not sure if Merciless Magnetism needs to be Reckoner's Roar or Chop Chop. But the idea is essentially you increase your attack speed. So as soon as you get any wound on the enemy person, right, you increase your attack speed. So like, for example, like, Advanced Antibiotics says after healing an ally, fun fact, you were an ally and wound counts as healing yourself, you gain attack speed. So wound them once, pew, 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 pew. Now their wound duration is a lot. And if you Jagged Blade them and pull them, even at equal level, at some point they arc upward, and they are technically aerial, so you do extra damage to them in the air. So, but you're not invested in like weapon power, so like I'm not sure. I'm still working on this build. The idea is there. It is funny, and if you kill them with all that extended wound timer, you get so much healing at one point. So. Funny idea in paper. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Let me know what you guys think about this one if you do try it out. It might be better with Reckoner's Roar instead of Merciless Magnetism, but I don't want to rely on a like shout kind of thing because your cooldown is so long. So maybe Chop Chop would be better. But those are the builds I had. If I had to recommend them, if they have a bunch of aerials that are like pissing you off, like if they have like a double boop Lucio, definitely go anti-aerial artillery, aircraft artillery. If they have a Freya who plays close enough to the ground, or a Mercy who is just pocketing the Freya, maybe go this guy. If you are going against anything else, really, I do like keep shooting no one dies, but this also requires your teammates to play with you. If you can play with support players, this one goes really, really hard. I really recommend it. This one's just funny. If you want to play Satan for the shits and giggles, go this one. If you're playing against a diva, do consider this one. Keep shooting no one dies still does work against a diva, but Knife to Sia does play around her defense matrix really well. Maybe if you're against a Zarya, maybe if you're against a diva, I'm not actually sure. I will say that wound does damage over time, which is not affected by armor, so it does chip through armor really quickly. So maybe this has potential for working against a armored character like Reinhardt or something like that. And then wounds heal eventually. This is on paper a good idea. I'm thinking Chop Chop instead, but let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you have fun with the builds. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your games.